I am Roy Collin, the host of the podcast. You can find everything about me by scanning the QR code there or going to roycollin.com. And you'll find my six podcasts, the Podfather, helping people become podcasters, the Awakening, exposing fraud and corruption, but with solutions, the Crypto, all things blockchain technology, meditation podcast, speaking podcast, and the Learn Polish podcast. You can also help the show by actually making a donation, visiting the store, or helping my sponsors. I hope you enjoyed this week's show. Welcome to the Speaking Podcast. You can find all our episodes on speakingpodcast.com. My guest is the founder and CEO of Franbridge Consulting, an Inc. 5000 company, and he's in the top 0.1% franchise consultant. He's also the author of the best-selling book, Non-Food Franchising. He draws on his experience as a former Inc. 500 franchise president and multi-brand franchisee in helping his clients select their franchise investments. He's a frequent contributor to franchise publications like Forbes, Inc., and Bloomberg. From Atlanta, Georgia, please welcome Jon Ostenson.
Thanks, Roy. Excited to be with you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I've been involved with a bit of franchising myself. I was actually consulting for a while, so kind of understand this space, and I realize how important a consultant is, which most people mightn't. They think it might be better going direct, but the reality is, even I've actually listened to your book, and you share very good information. So, first of all, welcome.
Well, I appreciate it. No, and yeah, as far as using a consultant, it's entirely free to work with us. We're essentially a real estate broker, but for franchises. So we simply get referral fee on the back end from the brand, and none of that's passed on. So, hope that we bring a lot of value to our clients. Having been a franchisor myself, and I am a multi-brand franchisee, so a lot of perspective that I'm able to share from my own experience as well as what I've seen with clients. So, like you said, a lot of that's baked into the book, but then look forward to digging into it today.
Yeah, so I suppose the best way is actually kind of take the listeners through your journey, because you've kind of realized it just on your position. So you might kind of let people know your whole journey as till where we are now.
Yeah, like so many of your listeners, I spent many years in the corporate world, working for the man, and was fortunate to have a really good experience and a good run. But went to grad school, and had elevated levels of responsibility within some large companies. But I had that desire, to build my own empire instead of someone else's. And it was about 8 years ago when I was in my mid-30s that I started looking around, and I felt like it was the right time to go and do something bigger on my own, and had the opportunity to step in as president of Shelf Genie franchise system, and wasn't out there looking for franchising, and wasn't thinking about franchising, but kind of fell into it. And through that time of serving as president and giving support to franchise owners all across North America, and in some cases around the world, really fell in love with the franchise model, and just saw how so many different backgrounds could step into a shared experience and shared system, and run a similar business. So long story short, I ended up partnering with the founder of that company. We spun off. We've invested in franchises ourselves. I've invested some directly. So I'm a multi-brand franchisee as well. So I've been on both sides of the table here. And, like I said, bring a lot of that experience into my consulting practice. So for the past 6 years, I spent most of my time helping others connect the dots of business ownership. So many people want to be a business owner. They want to be an entrepreneur. They don't know where to start. And that's where we come in to help them find the right opportunity and understand what can be the best fit for them.
And I suppose when you were the franchisor, there must have been times that people thought, this is for me, I've got the money, but it wasn't a match. And because sometimes people, they know there's a very good opportunity. They know people will make good money, but it doesn't always match. And they think that a company will just take their money, but not necessarily so. So you might just touch on that.
Yeah, no, it's a marriage, right? End of the day, it's a business partner marriage. And, as a franchisor, we want to be selective on who we bring in, because, if you don't bring the right ones in, then the culture can change, and, they're not going to be successful. And we wanted to set people up for success. So, yeah, certainly some learnings. We didn't always do it right. I mean, there were a few that slipped through the cracks that ended up not running a business the way we expected them to. Maybe they'd always worked in middle management and didn't have that fire and the ability to get out there and take some initiative. But we did everything we could to coach them up. And, what I was told over and over again, I see this in my consulting practice. I love presenting opportunities to clients. We'll look at a dozen opportunities that are open in their market that I would be interested in if I was in their shoes. Just when we look at a variety of different industries, over and over again, I hear, gosh, John, I never would have thought about the business like that. I never knew that niche existed, never saw myself doing this. But now that I understand what that looks like, even though I've never been in that industry, I've got a lot of skill sets that can apply in a lot of interests too. So, it's interesting. Some people say, hey, we want whatever has the highest financial returns. We'll run, porta potty business if that's going to get us, $1 million a year. We've got others that say, hey, I want to be passionate. I'm passionate about kids. I'm passionate about seniors or pets. And so everyone's got a different kind of buy box, if you will. And so we try to marry that up to what we see as the top opportunities.
And when you're kind of going through the process, because I'll explain. I won't name the company because maybe you were getting, but there was a company that was kind of doing similar. But I copped. They had a kind of like a heat map that was kind of guiding you what would be suitable for you. But I copped they were pushing people into their own franchises, which straight away was like a red flag for me. I was like, hey, this doesn't smell right. And they were really pushing. The owner owns a few different companies. You probably know him. I won't mention him, but it's like when I saw that, I was like, there is some dirty things going on in this industry. And I know you're a non-food franchise, but one of the ones that shocked me was, say, the likes of McDonald's or whatever. Like, people think that's 100% success rate. And the thing is, it ain't. And it's just that the person fails, but they come in and just take over what's just been built. And the person, after investing a lot of money, so nobody thinks it's failed, but the person has just lost sometimes millions of pounds on that. So you're conscious of that as well.
Oh, 100%. And franchising is just like every other industry in that there are good players and there are ones that are not good players. There are ones you wouldn't want to be associated with. And that's where we come in to try to, we've got a lot of relationships. We place a lot of clients. And so we rely on, those experiences as well as, we work with over 600 different franchise companies that are looking to expand. And so we get a wide array. Any given time, there's probably 50 or 60 that I feel strongest about. A lot of it comes down to their leadership teams and their backgrounds, but obviously the financial model, competitive advantages, what are current owners and their systems saying about their experience? Candidly, yeah, not everyone succeeds. Most people do. The numbers prove that out, but there are those that don't succeed, and maybe they weren't cut out for business ownership. In some cases, maybe it wasn't a strong franchise system, which is sad when that happens, but if business ownership was easy, everybody would be a business owner, right? And so it does take work, even in what they call an executive model or semi-passive, where you put a manager in place. That can be done. I do it. I own franchises where I've got managers running them. End of the day, it comes down to having a good manager running that, that's highly incentivized, that you can trust. If you don't have a good manager, then you're totally leaning in, So I never want to sugarcoat that for people, because I do have a lot of doctors and other high paid W-2 employees that are going to keep their day job, but they want to get a business going on the side. And I tell them, hey, it's going to take a little more work than you think it will. It is doable, but so much of it comes down to having a good manager running that day to day. And the beautiful thing with franchising is, when you do have a good manager and you've got a good franchisor on the sideline, they can carry a lot of that daily support water for you as the owner, because they're supporting that manager for you.
Exactly. Which, like, say, because sometimes there are people thinking, okay, will I start my own business or will I go franchise? Like, I've had a lot of businesses, and I've also seen the franchise model, as well as seen people go through it. And I know I kind of touched on some negative sides, but I've seen some franchises that have zero failure rate, so that does exist, and there's either people, they end up selling it or whatever, but there are some fantastic franchises out there. But when you look at the statistics, I see different figures, but what I've seen a few times is, after 10 years, it's like 4% is actually what survives. And a franchise model has a higher, way better. And I think it all comes down to systems. And I suppose, you're eating, drinking, sleeping this, but for those that don't, me as a business owner, when I get into a new business, I'm just going away and I'm buying books and I'm learning and I'm creating systems. And that takes a lot of time and a lot of money. And then I'm trying to figure out how to do the marketing. And I think that's the difference between a franchise. You're kind of handed a book. Yeah, you pay for it. But the reality is, you're making a lot more money out the gate than when you're starting off.
Yeah, you get to third base a whole lot faster. Again, with a good franchise system, not everyone's cut out for franchising. I think some people are too entrepreneurial and they want to put their thumbprints all over the business. It may not be the best path. But it's interesting. So many existing business owners purchase franchises through us. And because they say, we remember how much hard work it took trying to learn everything for the first time, and, trying to figure out marketing. And it's great to step into a franchise system that They've already tested a lot of marketing. They've got large data sets to pull from. Streamlined buying. You've got a coach on the sidelines of that franchise, or you've got other franchisees. They're living the same thing day in, day out. So it provides community and best practice exchanges. Oftentimes you can sell a franchise at a higher multiple than a non-franchise as well. I mean, that's what the data has proved out. So, when so many people come to me. I've already had calls this morning about this. Hey, we've been looking for an existing business for the last couple of years, or we thought about starting this kind of business. We haven't really considered franchising because we think of franchising associated with fast food. But you're telling me there's more industries out there. Maybe we should look at franchising. So many of them end up going that path once they get exposed to the types of opportunities that exist. And then some of those reasons why a franchise could make sense from a support standpoint. Again, it's already been proven out in similar markets. So it just gives you a lot more data going in, a lot more predictability around the potential success. And, I tell people, if you get into a franchise system, follow the system. Don't try to be the smartest guy in the room. Our best franchisees, back when I was a franchisor, when I looked across the system, our best franchisees were the ones following the system the closest. That sounds so cliche to say, but it was true.
You don't need to reinvent the wheel, no? But
That's right.
And like when somebody signs up for a franchise, is there terms and conditions with some of them that, I mean, obviously, if you're going to get another franchise that's in the same sector, I presume they don't want that, but are they usually okay if you decide, hey, this is working, I've got my general manager, everything's in place, you're not going to do that with 5, you get it right, get everything working, and then go. So are most of them okay with actually getting additional ones? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Every situation is different, but I'd say the vast majority, I think I've got so many clients that own multiple franchises. I call it franchise stacking. I like to point to one of my clients, Nathan, in South Carolina. He's the largest franchisee of 2 Men in a Truck moving service, operates in 12 markets, does over 40 million a year in revenue. Well, since then, he's purchased several franchises with us, in very diverse industries, and it gives him a chance to promote young talent within his organization to go run another business, and allows him to diversify. So, if you're a good franchisor, then you want people that are empire builders in your system that are going to come in, follow the systems, put people in place, and continue to have that mindset of growth. Another way to grow once you own a franchise is to expand within that system. I've personally bought out other franchisees myself, to help expand my footprint. And so there's a lot of that internal mergers and acquisitions as well. And, we see this, Roy, I'll just touch briefly. I talked about non-food. What are those industries? It's things like home and property services, health and wellness, categories like kids, pets, seniors. I'd say the general theme that we see out there today is what are industries that people are passionate about that they'll continue to spend on regardless of the economy. And so there's just so many different niches within each of these areas that oftentimes people don't have top of mind.
I've seen people that would like to do something as a family and get into a phase where they get everybody involved.
Yeah. I had to call the gentleman this morning. He said, hey, he actually sold a business a couple of years ago. He said, hey, I'm ready to get back at it again. I'm not ready to retire yet. And I've got a son that, has asked me to join in whatever I do next. And, we do see a lot of that. I had some clients recently where there were 3 family members, three of his children that joined him in the business. So no, it does lend itself to that. And I think there's kind of a culture with a lot of these franchise systems that's somewhat familial, if you will. And so it can be a good fit.
And I suppose for those that have been in the military, I'm not sure if this is an international thing, but I know in America they have a vet discount. And I understand it because I've had a load of people on my different podcasts, because I've got 6, I've done like 1,500 interviews. And they're very good business people and they're very systemized. And I've even had friends, and you see even simple things like packing a car when there's a load of stuff to go in. I'm like, they're so well organized. So I understand why a franchisor would like a vet as their franchisee.
No, first off, we appreciate the vets. And so I'd say there's a huge patriotic appreciation for the vets. So that's probably what carries the weight in offering that discount that most franchises do to veterans. But they also say, they love their ability to follow a system, right? I mean, they're disciplined. They've shown that they can follow a system, and a lot of that translates well into the franchise world.
So, like, I want to touch on both sides. I want people to be kind of buyer beware as well and everything. And that's basically through my own experience and different things that I've seen. So there's the item 19, the FDD, the franchise disclosure document. And I mean, I think it's great in what it says. You can explain in more detail. But what I have seen is one of the companies, Canadian-based company, connected with what I had mentioned earlier, and they had said they had something like 1,000 and odd franchise, very low failure rate. And when I dug deeper, there was like over 6,000. There was a massive failure rate. So there was a success rate like maybe 20%. And that wasn't shown on the document. And for me, that was like, there's people can actually manipulate figures and manipulate things. And I think when you're dealing with a consultant, you're kind of conscious of the companies to avoid, because you're not going to put your clients towards a company like that because you want them to be successful to buy the next one. You're not just doing it to just get your fee from the franchisor. And that's the other thing as well, like just so people know, it's they pay you because you're doing all the marketing, you're doing all the time work, you're holding them by the hand, making sure they got the funds to take them through. But you might just touch on the item 19.
Yeah, no, my role is just like a real estate broker, just like an executive recruiter. We get paid by the other side. But my validation comes when we have clients that are very successful and they come back and buy additional locations. They come back and buy additional brands. They come back and refer their brother-in-law to me, which is the vast majority of our clients. So, we have had clients where it hasn't worked out. Oftentimes it's because they didn't follow the system. I mean, that's usually the case. Because I've had other clients do very well within those same systems. It's kind of funny. But no, every franchise system has what's called an FDD, a franchise disclosure document. They're regulated by the Federal Trade Commission, and really that document, it gets updated every year with the latest information, the financial information, as well as if there are any closings or new openings, they include that. If there's any legal issues, that all of that gets disclosed, so you can go in eyes wide open. We always, it's a big intimidating document. You'll read it and you'll say, gosh, that's written in the franchisor's favor. Part of it is understanding the why behind things and saying, would a franchisor ever really come in and take over my territory? Under what circumstances would they do that? Well, it's maybe you're running the brand off the rails. A lot of times there's a reason. Maybe they've got national accounts that you aren't able to support, so they need to support them. They're not in the business of wanting to run other locations. That's why they're doing the franchise route. So I think it's understanding the why behind things. And a lot of the times it's to protect you from other franchisees, meaning if another franchisee is not running the business as it should and it's hurting the brand, then that can negatively impact you. So you want the franchisor to have those rights to step in after they've done a lot of coaching. But no, the FDD, we always encourage clients, once you get to that point, before signing, let's have a franchise attorney, someone that knows the space, review that agreement with you. And we've got some great partners that do that, so that you can really understand that document in total and get any questions asked and answered. If there are any gray areas that you need clarification around, let's get those out ahead of time. So that's how we go about it.
No, very good. And I suppose, there's probably people listening now and they were maybe considering it, and there's different budgets, obviously, and it's like you kind of, you'll find out what they've got to spend, and then you're obviously putting in front of them. But you might kind of let those that wouldn't have a clue what kind of money we're talking about, from upfront fees at the start, the different level we're talking about.
Yeah. We have some clients, ironically, you mentioned McDonald's. We have some clients that recently sold 12 McDonald's. They came to us and said, hey, we want to do something outside of food. And they bought 10 trampoline parks recently, and those cost about $3.5 million a piece to open. So there are those extremes. That's not normal. Most of our clients, I would say, when you look at the franchise fee and the startup cost, several months of working capital, again, all this is broken out in that FDD document and what's called the item 7. When you look at the all-in investment range, a lot of what they're getting into is, between $150,000 and $400,000. That could be a lot of service-based businesses where maybe you don't have brick and mortar, or maybe you do have that retail customer-facing brick and mortar set up, but it's retail light. It's not a huge footprint. So I'd say most of our clients, all in, including working capital, are in that 150 to 400 range. Some people use cash. Most people will use like 50,000 in cash plus an SBA loan. That's very common here in the U.S. Other countries have similar type programs. Banks obviously prefer lending to franchises versus, traditional startups. So, usually securing funding is not that difficult. Some people will use an old retirement plan and roll that over through what's called the ROBS program, where you purchase the business with the retirement plan, and you have to set up as a C corporation and jump through a few hurdles, but that is pretty common in franchising as well.
And like the royalties as well, because I know that varies. But I suppose, because sometimes people think, oh, I'm giving whether it's 5 to 7% of my top line to this and what a waste, but they don't realize the buying power, you're buying stuff at way below that. And it includes marketing. So I think they're actually losing money at the start when they're working with you. So you might just touch on the royalties as well.
Yeah, as you go through the exploration process and you're talking to different franchise companies and comparing and contrasting, you want to understand for that royalty stream of 5 to 7% of revenue that you're paying, what value are you getting from that franchise, or what are those tangible things that you're getting, as well as some of the intangible. Intangible could be like that community of other franchisees. It could be the coaching of the franchisor, but what are those things from maybe it's purchasing physical product or purchasing digital marketing services or bookkeeping services or things that they can buy in bulk, like you said. What value are you getting for that royalty stream? And then also think about, what if you were to start a company in this industry outside of franchising? What would you be paying for that maybe it's covered in that royalty stream that you would be paying for on your own outside? It's just not incorporated in that royalty stream. So it could be IT systems, for instance, that, get covered, or a call center by that franchise, or you'd be paying for on your own or having to staff up for outside of that. So yeah, you definitely want to be cognizant of that, and make sure you're getting the value to, more than sustain what it is you're paying.
I mean, if you're a business owner and somebody tries to sue you, you're kind of on your own and you're kind of, whereas they'd have so much experience with, if there's 200 of them, they know exactly how to deal with this. And perhaps it might even get to the court because of their experience.
Yeah. Yeah, no, experience sharing I'm a huge fan of masterminds. I'm a member of Entrepreneurs Organization and a few other masterminds outside of franchising, but I love getting feedback from other people that have been business owners for a while. And of course, you get that within a franchise system. It's kind of a built-in mastermind of shared experiences that you can learn from others. So.
And just another one note that I'd like to touch on that is kind of, because I like to give the pros and the cons. This is one that I have seen, and with some of the franchisers, they're using the script to make it look like they're taking it away, and it's all trickery. Oh, you're lucky enough you get to talk to the president of the company, and the whole lot is all a game on it. I have seen that firsthand and didn't realize it at the time till I was kind of in there and spending a lot of money and going, I don't like this, so that's why I got away from it. But I mean, that goes on. I've seen that with a few different companies. I mean, you've obviously experienced that as well. Like, so, because some people think they know better and they'll go directly, but there is some trickery in the sales process, just like there is on stage. There's a load of people on stage and I've only got 20 positions and 400 people later signing up, and you're going, I thought he said he got 20 positions. So you may just touch on that as well.
Yeah, end of the day, as you go through the exploration process, your main point of contact to the franchisor is going to be what they call a developer. End of the day, that's a salesperson, right? That's representing the franchise. I always encourage people to get to know the leadership team and the operations team of that franchise. You may or may not like the developer. Ultimately, they're not going to be the ones supporting you once you get to that point. So yeah, just again, like in any industry, sales, you're going to have salespeople at times use sales tactics, right? And so you have to kind of cut through that. Most of our clients are sophisticated enough to kind of see past that. And of course, I help them with that too. I will say a legitimate kind of thing, that dynamic out there in the market, is availability of market territory. I live in Atlanta. Atlanta is probably a top 3 or 4 franchise market, but I think about a lot of other major cities. And our biggest challenge is the opportunities sell out incredibly fast. I think there's a strong awareness of franchising, a lot of people looking to get involved, and good opportunities just move incredibly fast. So I never want my client to feel like it's a race, but a lot of times they are up against 2 or 3 other candidates for the same territory in that market at about the same time in the pipeline. So, most developers will let them know that, hey, there's someone, that's one step behind you in the process or one step ahead. And I had a client last week that ended up not purchasing an opportunity in Washington, D.C. Well, there were 2 other candidates that were literally at the discovery day for that same market right behind him. So he knew that, if he doesn't move forward, he's going to lose that. And that's just a reality these days.
And I actually was going to touch on that. So you just mentioned it, Discovery Day. For those that don't know, what's a Discovery Day?
Yeah, Discovery Day. So the goal going through the exploration process, again, is to get as much information as you can. You get it from the FDD, you get it from talking to other franchisees in their system through what we call validation. You get it through meeting with, virtually, oftentimes with the team behind the franchise, maybe our marketing team or their operations team. The conclusion to the process is what's called a discovery day. Some call it a meet the team day, but that's where they would typically fly you into their home office. You spend a day or 2 with them, get to know them, a little bit better personally, go to dinner oftentimes as well. And Get any remaining questions answered, but also get a good feel for the culture. Again, this is a marriage, it's a business partnership. You want to make sure that you could potentially work well together, shared values. And a lot of times that only happens when you're breaking bread over dinner, right? So that's the goal of that last step. And it's a two-way street. There are times franchises will say, we don't think you're going to be a good fit, or based on the time you can put in the business, we don't think you're set up for success, or, you will see that feedback. And I'd say the stronger franchisors turn down more people than weaker ones. New emerging franchisors oftentimes are so eager to get people in their system. And I always counsel them that, hey, you're going to regret that later. You've got to get the right people in early that are going to help set that culture, set the performance bar, and help you build a foundation to build off of down the road. But ultimately, that's what a discovery day is.
And I think it kind of shows, having the consultants as well, how much the franchisors appreciate it, because they would just do it themselves rather than paying the fee to yourself. They realize that they've got somebody that's got their hand at heart, as opposed to it's like we want, especially new ones, they'll just assume, yeah, let's get in anybody. And I think there's a massive advantage of having somebody on your side, because you're working with the franchisor, but at the end of the day, your client is the person that's going to be purchasing.
Yeah. We get that feedback from franchisors all the time. And, fortunately for FranBridge, I mean, we just tend to work with a higher caliber client. I think our referral network and, just those that we operate in and kind of how we present, we end up working with people that tend to be a little more sophisticated and, have stronger backgrounds, a lot of investors and such. And, the feedback we get from franchisors is, we're ahead of other consultancies out there, but certainly well ahead of anyone they get from their website. There's a lot of what they call organic leads that end up just being, riffraff. It's kind of a needle in the haystack for that, whereas the ones that we send over have already been vetted and, are serious buyers.
And that's one as well. Like, I'm not sure if he'd kind of be involved with them as they're going forward, but with the one that I mentioned earlier, like they were kind of doing leads for people. And you were paying a lot of money for these leads, $50 to $100 per leads. But some people were converting, like, say, 1 in 100. So they were paying a high percentage, as well as giving a percentage of what they were making to the thing. And it turned out that they were making a fortune from the lead generation. And I'm just wondering, is there many companies that do that? Because, that's kind of sneaky in a way. But that's what goes on, unfortunately, with one or two, rotten apples in the industry.
Every industry out there has lead generators, people that are advertising, that have portals online. There are a lot of consultants that do what I do, that ultimately buy list of leads, kind of like you're alluding to. We personally don't. We never have. I do a lot on LinkedIn, a lot on social media. I get out there, go on shows, great shows like yours here. I kind of spread the word, and just through our natural network and kind of being known in different spheres out there, much of our business comes straight from referrals. Other business comes from some marketing, but it's nothing that it's very upfront. It's offering free copies of our book. It's, we're not buying leads. I would shoot myself if I was in that game personally.
No, good stuff. And like, before we touch on the book, just wondering whether ye or the franchisor touch on kind of tax optimization, because with me, if I'm setting up a new business, that's the first thing I'm thinking about. What's the most, best way to set this up? And is it Delaware or somewhere is very good in America? But like, is it something that you kind of give advice on, or is that nothing to do and you just kind of let the franchisor kind of discuss it?
I give advice, and I disclose that I'm not a tax advisor, but I do nerd out on this stuff. So here's what I personally do. Like, I've got a Wyoming LLC, but I also have Georgia. For my operating companies, I have Georgia LLCs. I'd say, you start out as an LLC. Once you grow your business large enough, then you get taxed as an S corp. Those are things I can kind of guide clients on. One thing that I talk a lot about is the trifecta. With business ownership, whether it be franchise or non-franchise, you're looking to build an income flow. You're looking to build an asset that you can sell one day. And then you're also getting the benefits of tax benefits from business ownership, because the tax code was written in favor of business owners, because that's what the government wants to incentivize real estate investors and business ownership. And, there's just so many things you can do. For me, my kids are on payroll. Dude, I don't pay them a lot, but I pay them, a small amount every year. And that's a tax deduction for my business, but they'll be in ads for me. They will package my book and send it. There's the little things I can point to that they do. but now they've got earned income that they can put into their Roth IRA, that they can pay their private school tuition from, or help offset some of that. So again, there's things that the government has set up within the tax code to incentivize business ownership that if you're just a high paid W-2, you're not getting the benefit of.
No, exactly. No, that's brilliant that you've got that experience with the book. One, I mean, I know that for the listeners, they're able to get the book for free, but also for those that can purchase it, I would actually encourage them to actually buy it, because you're actually donating the proceeds to a nonprofit, which I commend you for doing. So what is that nonprofit and why was that?
Yeah. Hope International is the nonprofit that we're supporting with this book. It's one that we've personally supported over the years. It's a great nonprofit. It's a Christian organization, but they work throughout the world and help, entrepreneurs, with small micro loans and such, allowing them to kind of create sustainable commerce in their villages and in their areas. And that just goes so far. It's not just a handout, but a hand up, if you will. My son and I, he was 12 years old at the time, went on a mission trip down to the Dominican and got to see firsthand, with Hope International down there, the good work that they were doing. So yeah, big supporters of them, and all proceeds from the book sales go to support Hope.
Oh, brilliant. And like what I'll say is, because I've been in the kind of franchise, I don't know, maybe 10 books and big books as well, loads of different stuff. I've read a load of different things. And I actually wish I had read your book prior to I don't think I would have got involved with the company, because like, in fairness, you're giving a lot of information and you're kind of, if they need you, but you're also saying who wouldn't be suitable and everything. And you're giving a load of information. I mean, I think there's the audio as well that's on the free thing, but it's a very good book. And I'm not just saying that because you're a guest on the show. I mean, I'm saying the bad as well on the different things, but it is actually very well written. And I think you're very open and honest in all the information that you're given.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. And yeah, I mean, end of the day, our client's success is our success, and that's what gets me out of bed in the morning. And no, we try to pack as much content into 90 pages, make it very readable. Most of my clients have read it by the time we get on the call. So it could be a good first step, a good primer. And yeah, if you'd rather have the free copy, just come out to our website for Enbridge Consulting. But certainly if you'd rather purchase through Amazon or another online retailer, then we support that as well.
Brilliant. And I mean, like, is there anything else that you'd like to touch on the franchising that we haven't covered?
Yeah, I think I have so many conversations every day with people that are thinking about business ownership, and they talk about it and dream about it. And I think taking a first step of downloading the book, purchasing the book, or reaching out to learn a little bit more. I mean, there's no downside to that. It doesn't cost you anything. So I think it can be a good primer for people that have that interest, that maybe haven't thought about franchising in the past, just to understand what are the industries, how do the financials work. Could it make sense for my situation? So I encourage people to get off the couch, take a first step, and certainly if we can help in any way, more than happy to jump on a call and support you.
Excellent. Listen, thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. You might let them know where to find you, and is there any other socials as well that you want to include?
Yeah, come out to our website, franbridgeconsulting.com. That's FRAN, bridgeconsulting.com. I'm on all the social channels. I've recently started doing more on YouTube, but I'd say LinkedIn by far is the one that I'm most active on, and I have a lot of history out there. So we'd love to, again, share as much content as we can, but you can find us at franbridgeconsulting.com. Share your email address. We'll reach out. We'll add you to our newsletter list, and we can go from there.
Perfect. I'll make sure I'll put the links both on the audio and the video. And I've seen a lot of the testimonials as well, and they speak for themselves. So yeah, thank you very much for the conversation, Jon.
Thank you, Roy.
So that's all for the Speaking Podcast. You'll find all our episodes on speakingpodcast.com. Sure to give us a thumbs up, 5-star rating, share with your friends, and comment on what we discussed. I'd love to read your comments. Until next week, take care. So I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. As mentioned at the start, you can find my 6 podcasts on roycollin.com, or scan the QR code if you're looking to start a podcast or do a podcasting tour. I help with that. Also, if you're looking for a virtual assistant, we also have that service. And you can help the show by visiting the store, supporting our sponsors, or making a donation. Until next week, take care.